Welcome to episode 2 of Humanity in Practice. I am your host, Catherine McCord, and I'm so excited to have one of my favorite career experts, Jason, with me today to talk about this incredibly insane job market and what we can do temporarily to help ourselves through it on both the recruiting side and the job seeker side, and then what we need to build in the future so that this does not happen again. So without further ado, Jason, can you please introduce your awesome self to the audience?
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, for sure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So I'm Jason Hopper. I am a certified career coach at Jewish Family Service Greater Dallas. In total, I've been a career coach 12 years now. And prior to that, I know time flies. Prior to that, I was in staffing. I was what they call talent development specialist now. Back in the day, we were recruiters. And I did that for 14 years. As I get older, I like to round down. We're going to round that down and say have a minimum of 20 years experience helping people get back to work in some form. So
I love that.
Is, in a nutshell, my quick career.
And your awesome show. Don't forget to plug that.
Thank you. Yes. So I have a LinkedIn live stream that we do every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Central Time. It's called Caffeinate Your Career. Most of the time, the topics are going to be job search related. You can go, if you go look up my LinkedIn, you will have the link to the podcast at the very bottom of my About section. That's how you get it.
And it is absolutely wonderful. It's a great show. I enjoy listening in and hearing all the insights and you have a pretty good variety of guests that come on there. And for anybody that does not know me, I am your host, Catherine McCord. I have a crazy background in HR, talent acquisition. I go around the country helping companies get their mess right. That is what I do. And then I also speak and teach on topics surrounding talent acquisition and HR and inclusion. That is my jam. So that's a little bit about us. So as you can see, we both live in this. we live in this topic. And this job market, I even just read, so my mother was in HR, right? And was like my whole life in recruiting and HR. And we were talking about how we've never seen a job market like this. Never. Not ever. This market is so bizarre. So what are some of the things that you're seeing that make it so unique?
Well, I think one of the things that is so nothing happened that was supposed to happen. Let's start with that, right? Like beginning of the year, first quarter, there's always a huge push in hiring, right? Mm-hmm. Budgets have been approved. We're ready to go for hiring. None of that happened this year. None of that. And companies, I think, and also too, job seekers too, both were like, well, we've got some economic uncertainty. We have some layoffs coming. Government employees are now flooding the market because they've gotten laid off, which traditionally government types of roles were usually what they're considered safe, right? Because the funding is going to go every single year. None of that happened this year. This year, there wasn't a hiring push. We had a lot of layoffs, both in the government and private sector. Those are still continuing. Layoffs are still continuing. We have way too much talent in the market and not enough jobs for the people that are looking currently.
Yeah. It's true. And it's very interesting because certain fields that historically have seen growth are seeing major shrinkage. HR positions, and this includes recruiting, HR positions alone have seen over 37% decrease. That is huge. And that's a lot of people that are now having to try to pivot, but companies are still doing that whole we only want experienced people thing. And so there's not been adjustment for this market. And that is one of the craziest things that I've seen is that nobody on the company side is going, oh, wait, let's think of this differently and get some really great creative hires in. Are you seeing anything different on your side?
No. In fact, it's interesting you say that. They want to try to pivot into doing something else. And I'm telling my clients right now, do not try and pivot in this marketplace. It is going to be, first off, it's a grind anyway. Let's start with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, pivoting is always a grind. Yeah.
Like here's where it comes down, right? It's like, oh my gosh, we think you are amazing. We love you. You're great. But you know what? You don't have any experience, and John has 5 years experience. Who are you going to hire? I mean, just if you're an employer, who are you going to hire? The person that has done the job, or just, hey, I really like you? No, that's not a thing. It's just not.
Yeah. Realistically, it's not. And a lot of times it's not the best business decision. Now, sometimes it is. Sometimes you get that person in that is just so freaking extraordinary and you meet them and go, you know what? They can do anything, or they can totally rock this particular job. This is who I want. I've done it. I've hired that way, but I've also seen it happen, but it is rare. It is rare. And a lot of it is, I think, a lot of candidates miss, and there's no reason that they would know this, is that the pressure hiring teams feel over a hire is big, because if they mess that up, that comes back on them. And so they often want to take the safer bet to make sure that at least things stay status quo. Like, you could be amazing or you could be terrible if you're brand new. This person is at least status quo. I can at least keep things trucking along and flowing with them. And that's often what it is. It's not about who's actually the better talent in a lot of cases. It's about that fear.
I think that's true. And once we put the emotion into it, everything else goes right out the window, right? Because if we're going to hire safe, versus this was something that was supposed to have happened as well, that has not happened this year. One of the trends for 2025 was more skills-based hiring.
Yeah, right? And it's not a thing.
Nope. That was something that was supposed to have happened, and it didn't happen, right?
No.
Kevin, at the beginning, you were saying like what? Like, how can we look at this like on a larger scale?
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at that on some things that might happen, except that we don't really know what's going to happen next, because everything that should have happened hasn't happened. And I still think we have this, you talk about the fear. We still have this like fear of failing. And so now what's happened is companies they're getting like really nervous about hiring, because we may have layoffs and we don't want to bring somebody on board and then have to let them go.
Exactly.
And then on the job hunter side of things, they're running around looking for the opportunities, and probably not putting in really realistically enough time in the job search itself.
Probably not. But and here's the crazy thing. Here is the crazy thing to me. So we have people right now, the average time, and I got this from a few different publications, but even the Bureau of Labor Statistics backs this up. 6 to 8 months for a professional to find a new job right now. 6 to 8 months. That is insane. Now, that is an average across all the different professional jobs, but it is accurate from everything that I can find. And it is a full-time job. It is a full-time job, because a lot of these companies still have these lengthy application processes, and companies are not really considering what it's like. And one of the funniest things that I've noticed is this phenomenon, and I'm sure that your candidates complain about it all the time. This phenomenon that people think that the proper way to weed out applicants is to basically ask them interview questions in the application, which just then takes forever for the applicant. And it doesn't actually help you weed anybody out for several reasons. Number one, because your recruiting team does not have time to sit there and read interviews for the hundreds of people that come through. So they're still going to do the exact same thing anyway. Pick like 20 that look good and go through those, or less, and that look good and go through those. That's what's going to happen. It's not an effective. And on top of that, they could, it's not a live answer. So it's something that and a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people get clammed up with written answers and they kind of just drone and it kind of goes a different direction. Sometimes they copy paste it, and it's not to cheat. It's because they're nervous and they're like, oh my God, if I don't say this right, I'm not going to get an interview. And so it's so much pressure on them that's just completely undue. And it's just completely silly. Whereas, and I want to run this by you. So that's the problem that I'm seeing. One of the big problems is horribly ineffective application processes. My solution is keep it simple and do a lot more on the active sourcing than the passive. So have a posting maybe on your job site, something like that, but then get in the Indeed resume database, get on LinkedIn, and find the people that excite you and reach out. That's my thought of how to actually keep it shorter. What are your thoughts?
I think 100% the application process is too long and also broken. I typically will advise my clients to not apply to jobs unless it's at a target company where you happen to know somebody. Right. And if you don't know somebody, but it's a target company, let's work on getting connected to somebody that's in the department where you're trying to break in. Right.
Yeah.
Because I think like right now, job search is really all about who knows you.
That's true. And not the other way around. It's who knows you. That's exactly it. You said that right.
Who knows you? Who knows what it is that you're trying to do? Who knows what your next career move is going to be? Like you were talking about the application process.
Yeah.
In that time that it could take anywhere from 30, 45, maybe an hour to do one application if they have assessments and all the, like you were talking about the asking actual interview questions within the application. You're right. It's not effective. That's never going to be effective. I think somebody in HR thought that would be a good shortcut when it really just,
but it's not. Right? It's not at all.
Like, if it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour to do one application that probably nobody's going to see due to the software that companies use to weed out applicants.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to see it. So that's a whole hour of time that you could have spent, I don't know, at a networking event, a meetup, one-on-one coffee, virtual coffee, like getting to, again, be visible. Like
that's right.
People don't understand job search.
No. And that's the thing. Our market has evolved so much and there's not enough out there teaching people how to best search and how to best find talent. And there's this great obsession with AI on both sides, right? And one thing that's what is AI has its place, right? It does. I love AI. I'm working with it on some stuff that I'm doing outside of this. But AI cannot review resumes effectively, cannot be done. It cannot source appropriately, cannot be done. I've seen every technology out there and just broken some developers' hearts and told them exactly how wrong their stuff was. And then third, it cannot create an effective resume or cover letter for you. Now, if you give it not all on its own, if you give it the right parameter, if you basically tell it what to say, then it just kind of puts some pretty words around it, that it can do. But it cannot just properly represent you. That's not a thing that can happen. And I will tell you this, job seekers, please stop using AI to answer interview questions. We know what you're doing and it's weird. We know that you're basically reading or from what a machine told you to do. It sounds different. And I think it's because AI is basically still a child. It's still learning, it's still developing. It doesn't speak like a human. It doesn't interact. It doesn't have that emotional touch. It doesn't have that extra insight and intellect that a human being does. And so people can tell when you're using AI.
Yeah. I was going to say, I had one of the other coaches was working with a client and she was looking at his resume and she asked the question about whatever specific skill. And he's like, I don't know. I don't have that skill. She's like, well, it's on your resume. Why is that skill on your resume? He goes, AI wrote it for me. So AI wrote a resume and put skills in there that he doesn't have the skills for. And then he didn't
It
review it.
doesn't help. It doesn't. And folks, if you want a good resume template, and you know what, Jason, that I'm anti-resume, but we do have to use them for right now. Go to Canva. Canva has some great templates. Google Docs has some decent templates. Not great, but they're decent templates. And you can get a very decent resume. And have a template on there and be able to just follow it and just fill in the blanks. And so there's no reason to have AI make you one and it come out weird like that, or at least double check it.
Right.
Very
Right.
least
Well,
double
so
check it.
you said something a minute ago as like on the other end for like the recruiters. So what's actually happening is what we just talked about is job hunters are having AI create their resume for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're submitting the resumes. On the other hand, the recruiters are getting resumes that are written by AI, and
having AI review them.
Yeah, that's right. The software review, but when they see them, it's the exact same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an accountant and you have ChatGPT write me an accountant's resume, and they do, okay, great. The next one is the same thing. So recruiters are angry and getting madder at the candidates because it's a cookie cutter thing every single time.
And don't think, and I've had people tell me, oh, AI doesn't repeat itself. Oh, yes, it does.
Yes,
First of all, I have tested that theory. And second of all, I have seen it in practice, like what you're talking about. I have gotten so many resumes that were basically identical that I'm going, oh, I know exactly what happened here. I know exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And it's so off-putting, right? And it's so weird, and it is frustrating. So let's talk about how to fix this. So you have companies looking for people in ways that don't make sense and collecting just these hordes of job boards made sense as the only way to do things when they first came out. Right? They did. And they worked for decades. They worked for a couple of solid decades. They did great. Since 2020, they have become less and less effective. Maybe a little bit before that, maybe like 2018. They've become less and less effective. And the reason for that is the number of people using them and how widely used they are and certain job shrinkage and stuff like that, right? And it doesn't give you a full picture. So ineffective ways of looking and even interviewing. People are not effective interviewers. People are being put into these positions to interview candidates that don't know what they're doing and are never taught how to properly interview. And then on the other side, you have job seekers who are still applying for a job like it's 2010 and it's not anymore. And so there needs to be like a whole new structure put in place around this.
I think a lot of what that's exactly correct. What happened was the way we search for job seekers, right? It's changed, but nobody told the job seeker this, right? Yeah. I have like so many clients that are like, like our age, my age, and they're like, well, I thought that that doesn't work anymore, right? It's like, and it's not your fault. You just assume that this is how we're going to continue to do things. And
that's right.
There's a better way. There's got to be a better way. On the talent development or talent acquisition side of things, right?
Yeah.
I think, and you said this earlier, which I think is like pretty right, the right way to go, is look at what is going to be happening on somebody's LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Right now, there should be. Now, if you're looking for a job currently and you are listening to the words coming out of my mouth, you better be on LinkedIn. You better also make sure that you are creating content around why you are the expert in the field. I just told you, job search today is all about who knows you.
Yes.
You have to be visible. If you are not visible, you are not helping yourself. It's funny. You said that's exactly correct. You said earlier, Catherine, that it's taking 6 to 8 months for people to go back to work. That's exactly correct. And yet it's also not, like, because my clients are getting back to work in 4 to 6. I like to think it's because
That's because you've got support. That's because they're getting great support. That's why.
Probably they started their job search before they ended up coming to me.
I'm going to go with that. You're awesome at your job. We're just going to go with that.
I am, boss. Thank you. I appreciate that. And trust me, I don't have any degree. I don't have any confidence issues in helping people go back to work. I know I'm good at this. So, but I appreciate the kudos. But no, like even that's kind of out of whack. But and this is like the one thing. Well, actually, not one. There's really two things on the job seeker side of things that really need to happen. The first being that you've got to be visible. If you are not talking to people, if you are not, and by the way, it's like, well, where do I go to talk to people? I don't know. Anywhere where there's people, like any place where you can tell your story. That's the goal, right?
LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Even if you don't want to do in person because you're super shy or something, also get a wing person. Like have somebody like Jason or I that will prop you up and it will be your cheerleader. Go out there and rah you. If you can get to an event, if you can even do a virtual event and have someone there with you who will rah you and give you the stage, take them. That always goes well. Plus, it looks good that you already have a fan.
Yeah.
You know?
And by the way, no mistake. I am such a fan of you and the work that you do. You're awesome. I'm like, oh my God. That's why like everybody, oh my God, I'm going to be on the podcast.
And you know what? And that's the funny thing is we've all become fans of each other, right? Like you, me, like Jay, Jan, like everybody is friends with everybody. And that's the other cool thing. So then you build a network. And now you've got all these humans that can support you in this. And it's also about the human side of this, because it is exhausting to look for a job. It is debilitating. It will beat you down because you will go through interview process after interview process after interview process, get shot down, have no clue why. And then you're just stuck, and it's just constant worry and stress, and it's a lot. And so having that community will do more than just help you land. It will help see you through the BS.
That is 100% true. I mean, they say it takes a village. It absolutely does. You need to have people that are going to be on your side and support you, because this is a grind. A job search is sad and it's lonely because it's just you. There's not like a whole team of like people looking for work for you. There could be, if you start talking to people get leads. They know, again,
I just helped somebody land. It was so fun.
Yeah. I can't like it happens. Like I just like earlier I saw, and he ended up getting a job, and I'm like, excellent, dude.
See, perfect. And that's the thing. It's just who do you know and who knows you and who will like, so that way when somebody asks you, you can go, oh yeah, that person, I forgot about them. And reaching out to folks like Jason and I is also smart. And it's not that we'll always have time to spend, inordinate amount of time. It's not that we can even take you on as a client, but if we know you, if we've interacted with, if we've messaged with you if we know what's going on with you, and we've seen that you're pretty smart, and maybe you've engaged with us a little bit and, just kind of told us a little bit about what's good or interacted with our content or something like that. Then when somebody comes to us and says, by the way, I just happen to be looking for this. If you see anybody, let me know. You will come to our minds. That's how our minds work. We work in this field. We think like that. We will go, oh yeah, that person, and go back and find you and be able to connect you. So it's not about just going, hey, I need this exact thing. Finding people who are just in a position where they may find out about a job is also a really great way to make connections.
Well, it's like, this is how this is going to work, right? Because, and this, you will meet somebody, you will tell them their story. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, you're looking for a job. All right. And then guess what? Nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. What you're doing is you are making yourself known and telling everybody what it is that you're trying to do. Now, here's what happens. Just what you said. People are going to go about their lives, do what they do. And then one day, Susan, who you met at a gaming meetup that you go to every week, is talking to her sister, who is like, I think I'm about to quit. If we don't get somebody in here to manage this project, oh, I know somebody. That's how this works.
Exactly. It is random. The one that I just helped land, it was a client of my client that was looking for someone. And I just happened to be on a conversation with them about something else entirely. And this came up.
You can't,
And
right.
so, and I was able to give them 3 referrals and one of them landed. And I'm like, see, that's how it works. It's just the most random thing. So getting out there and just having people know you, posting that content so people think of you. But another thing too, so on the interview side, and I want to hit this up for job seekers first, and then I'm going to circle back to the corporate side of things and how we need to be doing stuff better on this side. One of the things that's tough is interviewing. And I want to be very clear that my personal philosophy is it is not your job to be good at interviewing. It is mine. I am the professional interviewer. I need to be good at this, not you. Not everybody shares that philosophy, unfortunately. So it is important to cultivate that skill. And so, Jason, what are some of the top things that you tell your candidates when it comes to interviewing?
So I'm going to say this. Yes, as somebody that is going to be interviewing somebody for a position, you need to have that and develop that.
Mm-hmm.
And know kind of what questions you can and or cannot ask.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
so we were talking earlier. It's like the interviewers, like nobody's trained them, and they don't know really how to properly interview.
Uh-uh.
But if that's what you're going to be doing, you need somebody to skill you up on it.
Yeah.
Okay?
On the candidate side.
On the recruiter side, on the candidate side, if you're looking for work, if you're a job seeker, you need to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you think you're going to go in like, well, it's my story, I know my story. Nope, you don't. Because then you're going to get into a situation where somebody's going to go, so tell me about a time when you failed and what did you learn? And you're like,
And here's the thing. And first of all, folks, don't be scared of those kinds of questions. It's not about they want to like trick you or make you look bad. What they want to see is how you think, how you learn, and how accountable you are. Are you accountable when you mess up? That's what they're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with asking somebody, what are you looking for, so that I can give you the best examples? Because that can help you to shape what it is that you do and how you respond.
I work with clients. When I work with clients, I help them create those stories, right? That are going to do one of two things. It's going to either evoke the emotion or come up with something that will be relatable to the interviewer, right?
Right.
For example, I was talking with a client, and she was a printer. And it was the customer service question. Tell me about a time you had a difficult customer. How did you resolve this?
Right.
How did you resolve this? Right. In fact, I don't care whether it's an internal department or you are customer facing. Everybody has customers. Right. And so she starts talking, and apparently she was the only person there that day, and the line was piling up. And then like the lady at the front of the line was upset, and I'm like, stop, hold up. She's like, what? I'm like, okay. Here's what I want you to add. So I had her add this, and she goes to retell it. She goes, and the line started adding up. I don't know if you've ever stood in a line before. Everybody has stood in the line before.
Everybody has stood in a line, yeah.
Right? And then she goes, and the lady was she was getting upset, and she goes, I don't know. I had her say this too. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody so mad that steam comes out of their ears.
But see, that's perfect, Jason. And from this side of the desk, as you know, what that does is that connects them, and it also engages them to what you're saying. So what I always tell candidates, tell me if this aligns with you, is I always say, okay, make it about what you're going to do for them, not your obituary. We're not telling them your past, and they don't actually care about that. What they care is what you can do for them, and they want to connect with you. So finding ways to connect. Now, some candidates, that's not natural for them. And that's really hard. And some candidates even have certain diagnoses that make that particularly difficult. So what I tell those people is find your own way. Everybody's got their own little way that they can hook people. So ask the people who are close to you. Usually a friend is best because they weren't like genetically obligated to like you. Get a friend and say, what is it about me that hooked you in? What is it about you that keeps you here? Or what is it about me that keeps you here? And then use that to rope in the interviewers.
I like it. I think, but and so you know what though? To your point, people are going to do business with and hire people that they like.
Yes.
Every time.
Yep.
Right. Now, to that, and I said earlier, you do have to have the ability to do the job. You have to have the experience to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're likable.
Mm-hmm. And likable does not have to mean one thing that people, when they hear that, they misunderstand. It doesn't mean that you have to be best friends with a person.
No.
No. You have to make me think that you're going to lower my stress level. That's what it is. If you're going to come in and own your stuff, and that means I don't have to deal with it anymore, I like you.
Yeah. Well,
you know, and it can be that simple. It doesn't have to mean that we're besties. I've hired so many people that I have no interest in as a human, but they're really great at what they do. And I knew that they would come in and make my life easier. And so I was like, great, come on in.
Employers hire people to solve their problems. And if in the interview you can tell me a story about how you have solved a problem, my thinking is great. You can do the same thing over here. And if your story happens to be, again, evoking the emotion or getting me involved because I can relate, now I like you even more.
Exactly. 100%. And two things that I will say on this. Number one is if you get stuck with a story question and you cannot think of an example, tell them, say, you know what, I'm really for some reason, I'm having trouble thinking of an example, but let me tell you how I would handle it and how my thought process works. At least give them that, because ultimately that's really what they care about anyway. So at least give them that. And then number two is, and never, by the way, never hesitate to say, can I think about that for a moment? They're expecting that. It's okay. And then number two, find a group of people whose speech pattern you are drawn to. Watch them for a while and then interview, because that speech pattern will stick. So when I was learning public speaking, I watched comedians. I didn't watch public speakers. I didn't take a class. I learned from comedians. And so that is the pattern with which I speak when I get up and do a presentation. And then when people hear that have heard me speak, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because even when I'm not being funny, it's that kind of engaging rhythm and kind of the highlights of the speech. And it keeps people hooked in, because even when comedians aren't telling the punchline, they need you to be engaged. And so that's what I learned. And so find an actor, a singer, somebody whose pattern you want to replicate, that you find engaging, and listen to that to get that pattern in your head. It works.
It does, for sure. You know, it's so funny because I would do I'll do presentation, and usually like the night before I will put on some comedian or comedy thing to like prime myself.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Right. So you said that, I'm like, oh my God, I did the same thing.
Yeah, it works. And it just gets your energy right too. So let's talk about the corporate side real quick, because corporations are screwing this up. And I've been saying this for a long time. I'm all about firing the resume, boo resumes. They suck. And people always go, well, what are we going to do instead of that? And I'm like, well, I already invented a solution to that. So plah to you. So what I firmly believe we should do is change job boards. I'm not against job boards in general. They just need to adjust. I think that people need to be presented more based on skill set, talents, and capabilities. And those things are different to me. And what I mean by that, so skill set is things like computer skills and ability to train, things like that. Skill set, and that's your skill set. And then on your capabilities, that's things that are kind of more broad scope. Like I could do project management, right? Like kind of the bigger things. And then capabilities is also things you've actually done. So it's not theoretical, right? It's things that have actually happened in practice. And then taking that with experience, but not putting it necessarily, just under a job, blah, 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 blah. And with a title, I'm very against job titles. Like just have, this is what I can do. I can project manage. I have 10 years of that. I can do this. I have this many years of this, and I'm at this level. And that's another thing people miss. Years of experience is not equal to expertise. So you need to understand their expertise level. So the way I would do it is have profiles that have no name of the candidate, completely masked, because we all know that names cause prejudice, right? And have that be something that can be unlocked once the candidate agrees to talk to you. But have some kind of like LinkedIn headline looking thing at the top right that kind of identifies them. And then come in with the different skills with the backup, right? I have this skill. And so let's say for me with public speaking, I'm a public speaker. I've been not only been doing it for a few years, I spoke for United Nations, I spoke for London School of Business, show off the expertise. These are the things that I actually accomplished. I did sales, I've done sales. I closed a $2.5 million contract and my quota was only 1 million, that kind of thing. So showcasing not only the years, but the how you got there and the things that allowed you to accomplish those things. So very accomplishment focused, very skill focused, and then also experience as well. Not so much, job titles and nonsense like that, but what they can actually do. And then matching that to jobs. So then behind that, companies would come in and go, okay, here's what we need. Here's the skill sets. Here's the expertise. Here's the things we need. And then the job boards could go, hey, you align with this because you match 90% of what this company actually needs. Voila.
Yeah. I think that's right. And that you'll have, there will be a platform for you to put in your information and data that recruiters can just go pull from.
Right. Exactly. Right? Yeah. Where they can source you. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I read this week or two ago that the prediction is that Gen Alpha will not be using resumes because companies, and they're already starting doing this. Companies are starting to have you do skill assessments, right? Mm-hmm. So we're just talking about being a public speaker, and here's the things that we've done, right? Mm-hmm. You will build that in and take that assessment, and then they will start making decisions on whether or not we're moving forward in the hiring process. FedEx Corporation,
I love that.
Is already doing this, right?
See, you're right. Certain companies are, including for IT jobs. That's just a big thing. It's like, here's a coding thing to do, let's do a live coding session and see how you actually work. I'm all for skill assessments. Now, I'm against personality tests and all that. I think they're hooey, but, and even a lot of cultural alignment tests are just nonsense. I've seen a few things that are great that tell you more like how the person best communicates, how they best learn. That's just practical. That'll help you train them. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. But personality tests and all that, they don't actually work. But skill assessments. Now, the one thing you have to be careful with, though, is that some people stink at test taking, even though they can do the thing. So you have to have the assessment built in a way that it actually does just let them work and actually does just let them do the thing. It's not just like a question and answer thing. But I think that that's genius. I think that doing it more practically, making it more about skills, making it more about expertise, making it more about natural freaking talent. It's like sales. I tell people all the time, please stop asking for experience. You can either sell or you cannot. It is really easy. You either can or cannot. And so just find the person who can. And it's the same thing to me with recruiting. I can meet somebody and in about 5 minutes tell you if they're going to be a good recruiter or not. I just know. I most of the people I've hired have not had experience. You can either do it or you cannot. And you can, of course, train and things like that, right? But there are certain skills that make you an epically great recruiter, salesperson, manager, all of those kind of things.
It's how we hired our last career and financial coach here. Because I went and I talked with our senior director, and I'm like, listen, I can train the person, whoever we hire, I can train them up to be good at the job. And I would rather we hire for skill and personality versus, you've been a career coach for 2 years or 5 years or however long. Right. And that's exactly what we did. And Rhonda is crushing it.
I love it.
Yeah. I told her, you can't be the best because that would be me, but you could be a really good one too.
Yeah, she can't be the best. That's not allowed.
constantly. But like, I think that's right. That should be trained
Yeah,
skill.
hire for talent and
Right.
skills,
Yeah.
but right now, candidates are not being presented in a way where most people can actually tell those things. So changing the job search strategy on both sides, job seekers showcase what you can do. Have your accomplishments section right at the top, and then showcase how you built out those accomplishments. And then corporations, we need to get, and ATS folks, we need to fix this nonsense and get rid of these resume nonsense and create profiles that showcase accomplishments and then back up the accomplishments underneath that. And it's not about job titles. Get rid of those because they mostly just confuse people anyway. Just showcase what the person can do and what they have experience in. That's what it's all about. That right there. And experience does not, by the way, I don't necessarily mean direct. But just, the things that you have been adjacent to, all of that kind of thing. That's what matters.
And I think taking the ego out of it too.
Yes.
Oh, like,
that's a whole other show, but yeah.
we don't want like, oh, you got a bad hire and like, and then
well, it's like I tell hiring managers all the time. They're like, oh, this person was only at this job for 8 months. I'm like, you never been at a job that sucked? They're like, yeah, I stuck it out. I said, well, that was dumb.
Yeah.
They just looked at me so funny. And I said, so you just chose to be miserable? I said, this person was smart enough to walk away. And they just kind of paused and they said, well, how do you know that? I said, well, I don't, but it's definitely a possibility. So why don't we give them a call? Because they look really smart and like they can do some stuff.
That's right.
And they're just like mind blown by this. I'm like, it's okay. And some of these job hoppers have done that because they're real picky and they know what they're worth. And I'm one. Right here, about a year at each job until I finally went solo. That was kind of my okay, I mastered this next. I mastered this next. I mastered this next. And there wasn't enough growth to keep up with what I was doing. So I just kept leaving. And I'm like, so if you can keep up with their need to grow, just imagine what you can unleash there. Right. So I'm like, I just feel like you said, taking the ego out, taking the assumptions out, and just getting curious and asking people, ask them.
So much bias in recruiting, right? Like
it's insane.
Like even today, and I was telling a client, they have 2 master's degrees. And I'm like, here's what's going to happen. The recruiter's going to look at that and be like, oh my gosh, they're going to want at least $150,000 and we can only pay like 80. Like they're just making assumptions based on somebody's.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. Oh yeah.
All the time.
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's funny. Even the fonts in resumes have come up, and I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And I'm not talking about like a font that you can't read. I'm not talking about that. But just, I have had the most silly things, the most insane prejudices. Now I will say this: employment gap prejudice has kind of dwindled because of COVID. That's kind of dwindled away. But a lot of this stuff is still very. You can be too young. You can be too old. You could be too much of a parent. Now, that is going to be my closing remark. Folks, if you are trying to get a job, please stop making everything on your LinkedIn about your children, because it sends the wrong message. It's not that we're not glad that you're parents. Super glad for you. It's that A, we want to learn about your professional side, not your personal, but B, to a lot of people, and I'm not going to necessarily include myself in this, to a lot of people, that sends the message that you are obsessed with your kids and that's going to be all that matters and work is just going to fall by the wayside. It just sends the wrong message. And now do what you want on your Facebook and your Insta and your TikTok and whatever else. Okay. But on LinkedIn, unless you work in a child-related situation, I say keep it professional. What do you say, Jason?
I think that having some personal stuff in your LinkedIn is always a good thing.
Because some.
I don't do here. You have to remember, it's part of the brand, your brand, right?
Right.
Like we were talking earlier about Jeremy back there, right? That's part of your brand, right?
Yeah.
And I get that, right? But when we are, and by the way, wasn't even my idea. I got this from another LinkedIn coach that I follow, and she's like, yeah, LinkedIn is for business, but when we start to peel the layers back on the onion, we're so much more interesting than that. Do a lot? I don't do a lot of personal posts, but I posted a picture of my son On
course,
LinkedIn
and that's
before.
fine. And I don't mean don't ever do it. I mean, don't let that be everything. That's
not
I went
right.
onto a candidate's profile and literally everything was pictures of her daughter. Literally everything. And I was like,
no, I'm with you on that.
and now on the flip side, Jess Norris posts funny stories about her son and ties them into work stuff. And I'm like, I can get behind that. Like that's cool, right?
Yeah, I took. I mean, I did that with. I took a picture of our son. He was in the hospital, and
I remember.
tied it back to self-care.
I remember that.
You need to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah, I posted about my bipolar a few times. I mean, some personal stuff is fine, but that shouldn't be everything.
No, that's right.
And not just kids. That goes to anything, right? That goes to anything. I just see it the most with kids.
It has to be part of what you want the brand to be, and the brand is not like the kid. I get like when it's the trend, and yes, it's cool to get onto trends. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like the trend, like just like 2.5 months ago was, oh, our daughter graduated, and like, okay, cool, that's great. But but that was the trend. That's fine. Yeah. But overall, you have to follow what
the brand. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Consistency.
I tie in personal stuff. I've talked about deaths in my family and related it to a bereavement post and turned it into a bereavement post, right? But so use personal stuff, but you're right, Jason, keep it in the brand. That's what it's all about. And the same thing on the company side, by the way, folks. If you're a recruiter, HR, hiring manager, and you do not understand your company's brand, you have missed the mark. Candidates ask that stuff all the time. They want to know your values and how you live up to them. Be ready to answer that question. Be ready to talk about your mission and how you are driving it and how this position drives it, and tie everything back into the brand. And with that, I want to bring us to final thoughts, because Jason, you and I could talk for days and never get tired of each other. But what are your final thoughts about the job market being seriously jacked and how we can move it forward?
So for sure, thank you. The job market is trash right now. It will come back. Things will start to get back to normal. How are we going to fix that? That was your question. Well, on the corporate side of things, I think hire a lot faster.
Yes.
I believe in hiring quick and terminating fast. If it's not going to work within that 90 days, okay, sorry, Jim, this isn't going to be the right role for you, and you're not a fit for us. We will help you as best we can. Let's move on, right? So that on the corporate thing, hire quick and fire fast. On the job hunter side of things, if you're looking for work, it is you're not going to work anytime soon if you are not talking to people. And I tell my clients all the time that you need to be spending 80% of all your time in job search doing nothing but talking to people. And if you come at me and you tell me, Jason, I'm talking to people, I'm going to be in your face like you're not talking to more people, but talk to more people.
Don't just talk to the same person over and over again. Expand. Ask for and never be shy to ask for intros. Never be shy to ask for introductions. And if you want to practice, you could start by meeting Jason and I and reaching out to us on LinkedIn.
For sure.
And on the corporate side, I would say we've got to get away from resumes. We've got to start focusing on accomplishment and skill and talent focus. We have got to start focusing more on non-traditional hiring and hiring people based on who they are and what they're capable of, not their past job titles. I think that that's mandatory, especially as so many, as you pointed out, Jason, there's so many layoffs. There's so many different organizations that are having to shift and get rid of certain positions and then up hires and others. And it's just very chaotic and weird. Whole government divisions are gone now. And please understand, people, that it is not as simple as just going out to get a job. Like we said, it is taking 6 to 8 months on average for a professional to find a job. It is not simple. And even, by the way, like the bartender jobs and all that are gone. Like in my area, I live in Florida, the bartender jobs and all that are gone because job seekers have had to get stuff to make ends meet. So now bartenders can't find jobs. It's this whole thing. So So make sure, A, that we're giving each other grace. B, corporations, get your stuff together. Come on, let's start doing better. And if you want help, reach out to me. I'm glad to help you put it in place. It's not that hard. It's not that big of a change. We can do it. We can make a better workplace. And if you want to be elevated in your job search, watch Jason's show, Caffeinate Your Career. It is super awesome. And definitely connect to Jason. He is spectacular.
Thank you, Catherine, for having me on today. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody be great, and we'll be back next week. Bye. Bye.